The 41st Ontario general election was held on June 12, 2014. The Liberal Party won a plurality of seats in the legislature, allowing its head, Kathleen Wynne, to continue as Premier, moving from a minority to majority government. This was the Liberals' fourth consecutive win since 2003 and an improvement from their performance in the 2011 election. The Progressive Conservatives under Tim Hudak were returned to the official opposition. Following the election loss, Hudak announced his resignation as Progressive Conservative leader. The New Democratic Party under Andrea Horwath remained in third place, albeit with an improved share of the popular vote. The election was called on May 2, 2014, by Lieutenant Governor David Onley, upon the recommendation of Wynne following the announcement that the NDP, whose support was critical to the survival of the Liberals' minority government in the Legislative Assembly, would vote against the Liberals' proposed budget. With the election, Wynne became the first woman to lead her party to victory in an Ontario general election. Standings, Summary, Regional Analysis. Detailed Analysis. Timeline, October 6, 2011, election held for members of the Ontario Legislature in the 40th Legislative Assembly of Ontario. November 22, 2011, the 40th Legislative Assembly of Ontario opens with a speech from the throne. March 28, 2012, Dwight Duncan presents the government's first minority budget, requiring support from at least one of the other two parties to ensure passage and avoid an early election. April 10, 2012, NDP leader Andrea Horwath makes several demands to be met in exchange for her party to support the Liberal budget, which support is necessary for the approval of the budget following Tim Hudak's outright rejection of it. April 27, 2012, Progressive Conservative MPP for Kitchener-Waterloo and former Deputy Premier, Minister of Health and Long-Term Care and Minister of Education, Elizabeth Whitmer, resigns after being appointed chair of the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board, triggering a by-election. June 15, 2012, Premier Dalton McGuinty states he will drop the writ if his budget is not passed. June 20, 2012, the budget bill is passed, after the NDP agrees to abstain, avoiding a summer election. August 1, 2012, Liberal MPP for Vaughan and former chair of the Management Board of Cabinet and Minister of Finance, Greg Sorbara, resigns to spend more time with his family and on his business interests, triggering a by-election in what is considered a safe seat for the Liberals. Sorbara will remain chair of the Liberal campaign for the next election. September 6, 2012, the Kitchener-Waterloo and Vaughan by-elections are held. Liberal candidate Stephen Del Duca is elected in Vaughan, while NDP candidate Catherine Fife is elected in Kitchener-Waterloo. October 15, 2012, Dalton McGuinty announces his resignation as Premier of Ontario and as leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. January 26, 2013, Kathleen Wynne is elected leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. February 11, 2013, Wynne is sworn in as Premier, and a new cabinet is sworn in. February 14, 2013, Chris Bentley and Dwight Duncan, Liberal MPPs for London West and Windsor-Tecumseh, resign. February 20, 2013, Wynne resumes the 40th Legislative Assembly of Ontario with a speech of the throne. June 12, 2013, Dalton McGuinty, Liberal MPP for Ottawa South, resigns. June 27, 2013, Margaret Best, Liberal MPP for Scarborough for Guildwood, resigns. July 2, 2013, Liberal Laurel Broughton resigns her Etobicoke-Lancashire seat and Intergovernmental Affairs Minister post and for an opportunity in Halifax. August 1, 2013, by-elections are held in 5 ridings vacated by Liberals. The NDP captures London West and Windsor-Tecumseh, the Progressive Conservatives capture Etobicoke-Lancashire, and the Liberals hold on to Ottawa South and Scarborough for Guildwood. September 24, 2013, Kim Crater, Liberal MPP for Niagara Falls, resigns. December 31, 2013, Peter Sherman, Progressive Conservative MPP for Thornhill, resigns. February 13, 2014, 2014, by-elections are held in Niagara Falls and Thornhill, with the NDP capturing the former from the Liberals and the Progressive Conservatives holding on to the latter. March 25, 2014, Brampton Springdale Liberal MPP Linda Jeffrey resigns as MPP and Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing to run for Mayor of Brampton. May 1, 2014, Progressive Conservative leader Tim Hudak announces that his caucus will be voting against the Liberals' budget, proposed earlier that day. May 2, 2014, NDP leader Andrea Horwath announces that the NDP will be voting against the Liberals' proposed budget, triggering a spring election. Following this, Premier Wynne formally asks Lieutenant Governor David Onley to dissolve the legislature and call an election for June 12, 2014. June 12, 2014, the Liberal Party wins a majority, claiming 58 ridings in the Ontario election. Tim Hudak announced that he is stepping down from his leadership of the PC Party. June 14, 2014, a judicial recount has been requested in the riding of Thornhill. June 24, 2014, a judge confirms results in Thornhill are in favour of the Progressive Conservatives. Opinion polls, voting intention polls released throughout the election campaign were distinctly inconsistent and contradictory, as shown in the graph and table below. During much of the campaign, different pollsters persistently disagreed, frequently by important margins, on whether the Liberals or Progressive Conservatives held the lead, though by the final days most polls showed the Liberals marginally to comfortably ahead. Still, polls completed on the last day of the campaign by Ipsos Reid and EKOS showed vastly divergent support for the NDP, at 30% and 19%, respectively. Also of note, although 4 different pollsters released results among likely voters alongside their results among all eligible voters in an effort to better predict the outcome of the election based on expected voter turnout, in all cases the former proved to be overall poorer predictors than the latter. General opinion polls. One innovative research states, for province-wide online survey, margin of error not applicable, online samples not random. 2 data shown above for campaign period polls are top-line results, typically among all eligible voters. However, certain pollsters additionally report results among likely voters in an effort to better predict the actual outcome of the election. When available, these alternative results are shown in the following table: likely voters, pre-campaign period. Incumbent MPPs not running for re-election: Liberals, Rick Bartolucci, Sudbury, Donna Cansfield, Etobicoke Centre, John Gerritsen, Kingston and the Islands, Phil McNeely, Ottawa All Copyright Anns, John Milloy, Kitchener Centre, Progressive Conservative, Frank Clays, Newmarket Aurora, John O'Toole, Durham, candidates by region, East, Ottawa, Eastern Ontario, Central Ontario, 905 Belt, Durham and York, Brampton, Mississauga and Oakville, Toronto, Scarborough, North York and North Toronto, Toronto and East York, Etobicoke and York, Hamilton, Burlington and Niagara, Midwestern Ontario, Southwestern Ontario, Northern Ontario. A euro indicates MPP not running for re-election. Issues: economy. Unemployment in Ontario is a major political issue. In particular, the manufacturing sector has shrunk by about 30% or more than 300,000 jobs since 2002. The Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario has proposed a plan called Million Jobs Plan, outlining their strategy for job creation and economic growth. By reducing tax, government services, energy costs and regulations, the PC's project to create cumulative 507,488 jobs over 8 years. The plan also calls for the reduction of 100,000 civil service jobs. Economists and critics have noted fundamental mathematical errors with the PCS projections. They hold, even if the PCS own data were correctly tabulated, only 50,000 extra jobs would be created. The Ontario Liberal Party has proposed the 10-year Jobs and Investment Plan, which proposes infrastructure investment as their main strategy to create jobs. The Ontario New Democratic Party platform calls for targeted tax credits and incentives to encourage job creation. The Green Party of Ontario policy proposal would focus on your job by lowering payroll taxes for small businesses as well as investing in transit infrastructure and subsidizing energy-saving home improvements. The Ontario Libertarian Party calls for mass privatization, lower taxes and general deregulation, eliminating many business requirements such as permitting, insurance and certification that they consider to be interfering with job creation. Their platform calls for government spending to be limited to only core functions of government. Defending life, liberty, and property, and as such would eliminate industry subsidies or incentives of any kind, particularly in the energy sector. The Communist Party of Ontario calls for raising the minimum wage to $19 per hour as well as introducing a guaranteed annual income, nationalization of the domestic steel industry, and investments in public housing, infrastructure and social programs, while shifting taxes from lower to higher income earners and businesses. Transit. Due to rapid urban and suburban expansion in southern Ontario, traffic congestion had been increasing greatly. A 2013 study by the C.D. Howe Institute determined that it was costing $1 billion annually for the economy of Toronto alone. The Liberals promised $29 billion in infrastructure spending, $15 billion of which would go towards building new transit lines in the GTHA, based on the outline of Metrolinx's The Big Move plan, as well as an LRT in Ottawa. A high-speed rail line crossing the province from the southeast into Quebec was also planned. The PCs promised to finish building the Eglinton Crosstown, but cancel all the other planned lines, and instead focus on quickly expanding GO service. The NDP plan was similar to the Liberal plan, but included an extra $1 billion to get certain projects built faster. Endorsements. Media endorsements. The following media outlets made endorsements during the campaign: Liberal, Toronto Star Euro, Now Euro, Toronto Star Euro, Progressive Conservative, Burlington Post Euro, The Flamborough Review Euro, Oakville Beaver Euro, The Globe and Mail Euro, National Post Euro, Ottawa Citizen Euro, Toronto Sun Euro, Ottawa Sun Euro, Windsor Star Euro, New Democratic Party, Sudbury Star, explicitly not endorsing any party, Hamilton Spectator Euro, The Kitchener-Waterloo Recorder Euro, public figure endorsements. The media has reported the following endorsements by public figures during the campaign: Deputy Mayor of Toronto, and Acting Mayor, Norm Kelly endorsed Liberal leader Kathleen Wynne. Mayor of Mississauga, Hazel McAleon endorsed Liberal leader Kathleen Wynne. Mayor of Kitchener, Carl Zero endorsed Liberal leader Kathleen Wynne. References. External links: Elections Ontario.